Hey, and welcome to the latest That's My Story Throwback episode. I'm looking back at some of our favourite stories from the past few years as an extra festive treat for our fans. The holidays is a chance to spend some quality time with family and loved ones, but for Isabel, Ezra and Fiona, they'd rather stay as far away as possible from theirs. First up, let's watch a clip from Isabel's story. Her stepdad was so mean to her that she had to leave home.
My mom and I talked on the phone a lot. She had her baby. I had a brother now. I think she wasn't happy at all, and her husband continued to treat her badly, but she still never mentioned anything to me. I told her, "Come live here with me. You don't have to put up with that man." But she wouldn't listen to me. My mom is a good-natured person and a loyal wife. Ted was taking advantage of her qualities. One day, my mom called me. She sounded very sad. "Your stepdad wants to visit you," she said. "No way! I don't want anything to do with him," I yelled. My mom said, "Isabel, this is really important. Will you please see him for me?" I couldn't say no. I wondered what he wanted from me. Ted came over the next day. He wasn't that smug, arrogant man anymore. When he said, "Isabel, we don't get along too well, but I still like you very much," I couldn't help but smirk. That was an outright lie. Still, I didn't say anything. "Perhaps your mother has told you. My daughter Pia has a very rare, very severe type of muscle disorder," he went on. I was shocked. I said, "No, I had no idea." Apparently, my mom had kept this from me so as not to upset me with her own troubles. My stepdad looked into my eyes and said, "My daughter is dying, Isabel. I came here to ask for your help." I knew Ted had a lot of money, so I was confused. "What exactly do you want from me?" I asked. "There's a drug for Pia's condition. A single dose will be enough to cure her, but this is the most expensive drug in the world. It's only produced for 20 people every year. I sold all my properties, but I still only have enough money to cover half of its cost. Please help me with the rest. My daughter can't move at all right now. When it gets to her heart muscle, she'll be dead. I beg you, help us." After he said all that, my stepdad started sobbing. Neither Ted nor Pia is a good person. You know this already. Ted ruined both my and my mom's life. My grandmother saved me from that house. What would have happened to me if I'd stayed there? Would you help them if you were in my place? You probably would.
Would you have given him the money? Stray Cat would have asked for proof that the stepdad was telling the truth first, and PBS Craze would have shunned the stepdad to deal with it on his own. Sovereign Oak thought that Isabel's story showed a real act of kindness. Next up is Ezra's story, who learnt that looks can be deceiving.
"You think I can't tell that your family's really well off?" I said, "My dad works as a driver. The car you saw belongs to his boss. The clothes I'm wearing used to belong to the boss's son. It's actually a really sad story. I'll tell you about it sometime." Eddie began crying and suddenly screamed, "You lied to me." When I said, "Babe, you got it all wrong," she said, "Don't call me babe," and ran away. At that moment, everything became clear to me. Eddie had been thinking I was rich. She became my girlfriend because she thought she could live her dream life with me. I felt really humiliated. The love of my life was a gold digger, and she didn't even feel the need to hide it. For a few days, I was devastated. I was thinking about Eddie every waking moment. But then I figured that this wasn't the right way to go about things. Instead of being sad, I had to draw some lessons. I only fell in love with Eddie because she was beautiful. But as I learned, looks could be deceiving. I felt better when I began to think this way. The heartbreak that kept me up at night went away pretty soon. One day, my dad said, "My boss is inviting us to his house. He said he had something important to tell us." We went there that evening. Mr. Kit is a wonderful person. We were having a fantastic time, as we always do. Then a man came into the room. Mr. Kit said, "Let me introduce you to my attorney, Mr. Turner. He's with us today for a very important matter." The attorney took out a document and began reading. We couldn't believe our ears. My mom couldn't keep herself from crying. The document was Mr. Kit's will. Because he didn't have any other relatives, he had decided to leave half of his fortune to charity and the remaining half to me. I became incredibly rich overnight. Mr. Kit said, "This is the best decision I made in my life. Yes, I lost my son, but now I have an honorary son," and gave me a hug. I was going to receive the inheritance in the future, but Mr. Kit wanted us to have better lives right away. We moved into his house. I started going to a private school. Now I was really living the life Eddie was dreaming about. She had no idea about any of this because we had stopped talking.
Can you believe that Ezra's girlfriend was only with him because she thought he had money? Would you have told Eddie the truth if you were in his situation? Watch the whole episode to see how he got his revenge on Eddie. Eugene thinks that Ezra was lucky Eddie dumped him, as someone should be with him for true love, not for money. Princess Jennings thinks that Eddie was not worth Ezra's time and he deserves much better. I agree. The final story we're watching today is about Fiona, who started a YouTube channel to showcase her family's extreme punishments. But when they found out about it, they disowned her.
So what happens now, I asked. Since you're disowning me, I guess you don't want me staying in this house anymore. My dad nodded. We're giving you a week to find yourself a place to stay. I could understand their disappointment, but wasn't this reaction a bit over the top? Disowning and even throwing me out of the house? They had 2 children, but it looks like they were okay with losing one. Why was I surprised anyway? My parents' main issue was their inability to be compassionate towards us. I've already told you how they punished us for small stuff. I guess it was normal for them to overreact like this under the circumstances. Now that I was kicked out of the house, I had to find a place to stay. Being a high school student, I didn't have many options. Of course, I went to my grandmother. My parents probably knew that's what I would end up doing. Even though my dad is my grandmother's favorite son, she criticizes him all the time. When she found out what happened, she called him over. Fiona is just a kid. How can you throw her out of the house? She will live with me from now on. And I am disowning you too. Throw Craig out as well. I'll take care of both of them. My dad listened without saying anything. Then he just left. I've been living with my grandmother for 5 months now. I wish they had kicked me out earlier because I feel so good here. Craig stays over a lot. He says that my mom cries all the time because she misses me. I'm not unforgiving like her. I'd go see her right away if she called, but I don't think I'll ever live in that house again.
What would you have done if your parents kicked you out? If you're intrigued by Fiona's parents' crazy punishments, then check out the whole episode. You can find the links to all today's full stories in the description. Samantha Patrick was glad to see that Fiona's dad received his karma after the way he treated her. And Tiffany Pete thinks that Fiona was a prisoner in her own home before they kicked her out. As always, thanks so much for sharing your comments. Keep them coming so we can shout you out in a future video. That brings us to the end of this throwback episode, but remember to subscribe to the That's My Story YouTube channel so you never miss out on a new upload. See you next time!